Good evening. I'd like to call this meeting of the Pinetop-Lakeside Council to order. We do have a quorum. Welcome all. I would ask that you stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, and please remain standing for the invocation. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Pastor Diane, welcome.
Thank you. If you're so inclined, please bow your heads and pray with me. God, Father, Jehovah, Great Spirit, creator of all things big and small, we come to you this evening and we ask for your blessings and grace upon the meeting this evening. We give you thanksgiving for our cities. We ask that you would watch over and protect those who clear our roads of snow so that we can drive. For our first responders who work at all hours in all kinds of weather, and our 911 operators who deal with stressful situations every day. Lord, thank you for the people who are sitting here before us, our council members and our mayor. We ask that you would give them stamina, that you would give them wisdom and discernment as they have to deal with making decisions, sometimes that are unpopular with people. And God, that you would increase their time tenfold. Be with us as we meet and the business at hand is dealt with. Help us to be kind and gentle with each other. We pray this. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much. Item B on our agenda tonight is call to the public. This is a business meeting of the Town Council. The town values and welcomes public input. Please address the council as a whole and not individual council members or members of the audience. Council action on items brought up in call to the public is limited by the open meeting law. The council may direct staff to study the matter and reschedule for further consideration at a later date. Items on the agenda are not heard or discussed in call to the public, and individuals are limited to 3 minutes. I don't think we have any requests tonight. Okay, thank you. We'll move on then to item C, which is our consent agenda. All items listed are considered routine matters and will be enacted by one motion of the council. There will be no separate discussion unless a member of council requests that an item or items be removed for discussion. Council members may ask questions without removal of the item. Items removed are considered in their normal sequence as listed unless called out of sequence. We've got 2 items on the consent agenda. Are there any questions or comments from the council? Seeing none, Vice Mayor?
I move to approve the consent agenda. Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. Thank you. That carries unanimously. Item D is business before the council. Public comment will be taken at the beginning of each agenda item after the subject has been announced by the mayor and explained by staff. Any citizen who wishes may speak one time for 5 minutes on each agenda item before or after council discussion. Questions from council members, however, may be directed to staff or member of the public through the mayor at any time. Item D1 is Town of Pinetop-Lakeside Proclamation of Women's History Month. Whereas women in Arizona history have transformed the state and entire nation through leadership in a wide range of fields, including elected and appointed public service, military service, public safety, entrepreneurship, business, education, medicine, the arts, philanthropy, and charitable services. And whereas the first woman United States Supreme Court Justice, Sandra Day O'Connor, the first woman state chief justice in United States history, Arizona Supreme Court Justice Lorna Lockwood, one of the first women in the United States elected to a state legislator, Representative Rachel Emma Allen Berry, are from Arizona. And whereas Arizona inaugurated 5 female statewide office holders, Governor, Secretary of State, Superintendent of Public Instruction, State Treasurer, and Attorney General in 1999, the first time women held all statewide elected offices in United States history. And whereas Arizona became the 10th state to grant women full voting rights in 1912, nearly 8 years before the United States Congress ratified the 19th Amendment and granted women the right to vote nationally. And whereas Arizona celebrates the women whose tenacity, courage, and grit contributed to the development and continued growth throughout Arizona communities. And whereas women working in the healthcare and medical industries throughout Arizona have made history during the pandemic, including those who have dedicated time, energy, and resources to vaccinating Arizonans and saving lives. And whereas 39 women are currently serving in the Arizona State Legislature. And whereas women from across the United States have contributed to the achievements, prosperity, and continued growth of our nation, and these examples of leadership and determination shall be honored and recognized. And whereas Congress passed legislation in 1981, which authorized and requests the President to proclaim the week beginning March 7th, 1982 as Women's History Week, and whereas every President since 1995 has issued an annual proclamation designating March to be Women's History Month. Now therefore I, Stephanie Irwin, Mayor of the Town of Pinetop-Lakeside, do hereby proclaim March 2023 as Women's History Month in the Town of Pinetop-Lakeside. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused to be affixed the seal of the Town of Pinetop-Lakeside, Arizona, done this 2nd day of March 2020. Amazing Arizona women. Item D2 tonight is a presentation of the Arizona Rangers to the Pinetop-Lakeside Police Department and the Town of Pinetop-Lakeside. We have some representatives if you want to come on up. I recognize Craig. You need to come to the podium where the microphone is, please.
There we go.
That way we could film you too.
Mayor, council members, thank you for giving us this opportunity. I'm here to represent the Arizona Rangers Sholo Company and just give a little token of our appreciation for being able to work with not only the Pinetop-Lakeside Police Department, but the town of Pinetop-Lakeside throughout the past several years. And we look forward to continuing that association that we have. It's absolutely an honor that we are able to stand alongside Pinetop-Lakeside Police Department doing duties at the Balloon Festival and high school graduations and things of that nature. And so we just wanted to, it's just a small token of our appreciation to each of you up there, as well as our chief. If he could join us up here, I think.
Can you guys introduce yourselves?
Oh, sorry, I am Craig Boston. I am the company commander, captain of the Arizona Rangers Sholo Company.
And I'm Bob Coleman. I'm the internal affairs officer for Sholo Company.
Thank you. Thank you. Chief, come on up.
Put him in the middle.
Commander,
We got to roll it.
make sure the mic picks you up to.
Maybe you could have Mayor Irwin come down also.
Yeah, that would be fantastic.
And the Arizona Ranger.
Thank you so much. Yes, keep us busy.
Yeah.
Thank you, gentlemen. We'll move on then to item D3, which is an ADEQ update. We have Manny Bowler here with us tonight.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and City Council. I'm glad that you asked me to come and introduce myself and give an update on what ADEQ is doing in your community and how we can work together. So I want to briefly talk a little bit about what it is a community liaison does. So we have 6 throughout the state. We've divided up the state into different parts. Did I include the map on that? Okay, let's do that. Okay, and as you can see, each of the sections are broken up. So I am the community liaison unit manager, and I manage the team of 6 that you see before you there. And go back to the other slide. Should have put that one first. We work in the community and we coordinate assistance. So if Keith and his team have questions, they don't know who to call and they don't know who to find, and they need several people at the agency, they can just call Manny, and Manny brings everybody together, and it's really easy for them to navigate. Sometimes it's hard to figure out who at ADEQ you need to talk to, and having just one person to reach out to makes it so much easier. That's, I think, the biggest benefit that you all get from having a community liaison. The other is that if there's issues that the agency would like to trickle down to the community, but doesn't know how and who to engage, they come to the liaisons. And sometimes we also provide permitting assistance. That can happen. Or sometimes we need access agreements. The agency needs access to something, and they're having troubles getting a hold of the landowner. They don't know where they are. They may reach out to us, and we stop by, and we get that signature taken care of so that the environmental remediation can continue forward. Sometimes the community has concerns. They'd like to drive up. And because there's 6 of us, we talk every day, all day long. If there's something that bubbles up in one community, and it may bring it to the group, something may bubble up somewhere else, and we may see trends that are happening across the state. Operator, wastewater and drinking water operator, testing and access to testing. That's one of the things that we're passionate about, because we realized that in the rural communities, everybody was speaking up. The metro area was like, oh, it's no big deal. But in the rural community, we were all hearing it from our constituents going, we need help. So having us with ears in our communities helps bring change to the agency. So there's the map, yep. Nah, it's good. So recent supports, and I thought pictures were better than anything else. So as you can see, the snow and the trash trucks. I think I've taken more phone calls in the last 3 months about trash trucks, not picking up trash, and ultimately that is an issue of concern between the vendor and the homeowner. It isn't a city thing, it's not an ADEQ thing. Unfortunately, neither one of us control whether or not a trash company picks up the trash on time and whether they bill correctly and give credit for that. But I've been on the phone with several different trash companies trying to figure out with upper management what's going on. So that's one of the things I've been working on in the Pinetop-Lakeside and just southern Navajo and Apache counties. It's been a mess. It's been a really good winter. Every week we get snow, and so trash schedules are impacted. The other one is the septic hauling has increased significantly, and your local sewer plant saw a significant increase in the amount of septic that was being brought into their facility. So ADEQ is working on trying to figure out what can we do to minimize the transit of septic from outside of the area, because Pinetop-Lakeside doesn't have a lot of places with septic, so a lot of septic systems. You've got some, and those can get taken to the septic plant. But because of all the home sales, it's just increased so much that the plant is like, whoa, can you figure out something else? Can we do something to build more capacity in the rural areas? So we're working on that at the moment. Grant support. So as you might know, I don't know if you know, ASU has been working with the town to flesh out the hub and spoke model, which is exactly what it says. Pinetop-Lakeside would be the hub, and communities outside of the area would be the spokes, and we would bring things to market, whether it be cardboard or glass. We could bring it to Pinetop-Lakeside, you all process it, and then it gets taken to market. Matt and his team do an amazing job, because I bring my recycling to Pinetop-Lakeside because we don't have anything in Apache County. And so I bring you cardboard, glass. It's great because I know you're going to take it to market. So one of the things that I've recently been helping with is Melena, to get letters of support and to kind of advocate in Apache County and northern Navajo County, making sure that people will participate in the work that Pinetop-Lakeside is doing. Because ultimately, I think that's going to help the whole region be able to recycle. Because Apache County isn't got enough volume, and if we can bring it here, it would make so much sense to have you be the spoke. So I've been helping with that effort. And I think in March, if I'm not mistaken, I believe the professors are going to come in March and give you an update on that grant. So that isn't me. So look for that. So I wanted to tell you about the Recycling Education and Outreach. It's called RIO. It's a recycling partnership, and there are 7 states working together to create a portal for rural communities. That would be kind of like a website portal. And within that, there would be grant money assigned so that when you get your hub and spoke grant from, be positive, you're going to get that grant. Then you can flesh out that model a little bit more. And then you would probably need to do some education of, you have materials, where to take it, how much does it cost. You hopefully will get the RIO grant, and then that can layer on top so that you can get signage taken care of all for free. And there'll be educational materials in that so that you can educate not only your community, but the communities around as well. Okay, okay. So this is where you know how you make a presentation and then you go, oh, I should have added this. I had that aha moment like 2 days after I sent it to Christy. So anyway, the federal government has made more technical assistance available for infrastructure money. So the bill, IIJA, has a ton of money in it. And it is so hidden in different nuggets, it's hard to figure out what there really is. So, and it's mostly focused on water, and so drinking water and treatment of wastewater. But there's other monies too. So if you think you have an idea and you think you need some support, I think we could reach out to these groups and they can help you. But I wanted to briefly tell you why I put this slide in there. One of the big things, one of the emerging contaminants in water and soil is PFAS. And I don't know how many of you know what PFAS is. And because it's a chemical name, it is difficult to pronounce. It stands for per and polyfluoroalkyl. And it's really just PFAS, P-F-A-S, okay? And it is a forever chemical. It is in everything around us. It's in cell phones, it's in alternative energy batteries, it's in clothing, like the repellent in your clothing, it's in medical devices. It's just all around, and it's been around for, I think, at least 100 years. And so it's made its way into our landfills and into our water. And scientists have determined that PFAS isn't all that great for us and our bodies. And so now they would like to clean it up. So the EPA is working on a standard to figure out what is the standard going to be for how much PFAS can you have in your water. And at some point they'll do landfills. And so as part of that, ADEQ sought funding because it's also in things like firefighting foam. So we have secured some funding to help fire departments destroy the current inventory of AFFF foam that they have and replace it with something that has no PFAS in it. And we're working with the Timber Mesa Fire Department to address that. They have a little bit of a different situation because their service area includes the airport, and the FAA has not determined which type of PFAS-free foam they can use. So we're working with the fire department to address that so as quickly as we can. And then the other thing related to this is where we're getting to that. ADEQ is doing a pilot project where we're engaging with drinking water systems, public drinking water systems, to sample for PFAS. And we'll be coming to this area in the summer. We'll do Apache Gila, Apache, and Navajo counties in the summer. And the results should be available in September as to whether or not the drinking systems have any PFAS in them or not. This is a completely voluntary program because, again, the EPA has not determined what the safe level is. So currently what we're doing is we're going out and testing to see, do you have PFAS? If you do, you know the level, you could potentially go get funding through the IIJA money to help you remediate that contaminant. Again, remember, it's all voluntary. So I would encourage you to talk to your local water providers and encourage them to participate because, again, it is voluntary. Okay, next slide.
So Manny, can I just ask
Yeah.
a question? What is the mitigation for that if, once they determine the harmful levels, is there a treatment for it?
There is. So Tucson and Marana are currently working on figuring out exactly what can be done. I'm not a chemist. I'm sure somebody out there is a chemist and they're going, I can explain this. So I can only explain it very simple terms as I understand it. There's two chains of PFAS. There's a long and a short. And the long one can be treated through sand filter and through reverse osmosis, okay? And the short one can be reduced but doesn't get eliminated through those. So they're actually still trying to figure out what would this look like. But for the most part, it can be remediated mostly with just reverse osmosis and some extra filtering and things. So Marana is working on that, and the city of Tucson. So we're hoping that they can figure this out so that when other communities need to start remediating, they have some technical assistance that they can go to. And we've got our own capacity in the state. That's kind of what I know.
Thank you.
Okay. So another avenue for monies, I know that Pinetop does not operate any water systems. So I know this slide is not necessarily for the town's benefit, but I think you're representatives of the community. So knowing where the funding is available, as you're having conversations with your water operators and your water companies, you can help them understand that if they have needs, they could go to the Rural Water Infrastructure Committee. It's sort of a shark tank. They have an idea of what they'd like to do, increase a holding for capacity and things like that. They could bring that to the RIC meeting, get on the agenda, and then because it's like a shark tank, you have all the funders sitting at the table, they're listening to the pitch, they can say, oh, I can fund this piece, I can fund that piece. Have you done this? Have you done that? So it helps sort of speed the process along for an entity that needs financial assistance. Next one. This one's actually my favorite. Oh, brownfield. Okay, brownfield. Just real quick. So the brownfield program has some extra monies. And if you have, I don't know if Pinetop has any properties that would be eligible for brownfield funding, but if you have any questions, I would reach out to Travis Barnum and engage him because he has so much money coming from the EPA that he needs to put them in the hopper. So if you have any brownfield funding that you think you need, need to call Travis so that he can get you in that hopper, because that way he can say, well, I'm moving people around, and he needs to know what the project is. Currently, he's working with the White Mountain Wildlife Nature Center to remove a tank to assess what's going on inside a concrete tank.
It's like a septic tank. It's a two-compartment tank where oil and sand are separated from the water.
Yeah, so we're trying to figure out what that is and help him get that removed so that he can continue expanding the nature center. So there's a competitive grant, and we hope to have results by fall of 23, and then we'll know if we can fund even more. So next slide. So the state legislature has mandated that the agency develop a voluntary environmental stewardship program. We all know that compliance from industry is easier to achieve through voluntary compliance rather than through regulation. We know that when we do things voluntarily, we buy in and we make sure that those things continue to happen. That's what this program is about. You as city council members might know of someone that is regulated by ADEQ and that is doing an exemplary job and might be nominated for this award. Basically, they go above and beyond regular industry requirements, state requirements. So it's pollution prevention, energy conservation, things like that. Even the town, if you had a splash pad instead of doing a pool, that could be a VESP. It's really anything. And the ultimate goal is to help you staircase step, next slide, up to platinum. So you start off at the copper or bronze level, and then you stair step up to platinum. At platinum, you would have a environmental management system in place for your organization. And that's kind of what the goal is, right? You stair step up. And I think that's it. I just wanted to briefly, that's kind of what I thought was a little bit of everything, all in one presentation. Do you have any questions for me?
Questions for Manny? Not sure everybody really knew what all ADEQ was involved in, so that was a really good presentation. Thank you.
You're welcome. So if you have, oh, yes.
I do have.
Go ahead.
I do have a question. There was groundwater contamination near our library. And do you know, are you involved with that?
Is that the
ADEQ?
cab?
It's,
Yes.
The cab? Oh, okay. Yeah, I think you're on the cab, and I think the camp, I'm sorry? Matt, yes. And I believe the status is that it's currently in a holding position. That is what I believe. And so if you want me
the
to
last I heard, it was a very long term, like 30 years to mitigate the chemical problem, and a couple of $1 million, I think. I just was wondering if,
I'll just answer that real quick.
okay,
Sure.
thank you.
Okay?
Go ahead.
All right, so they are going through remediation processes right now. They are constantly evaluating the levels that are in the groundwater. And so they had some increases recently. And so they've changed the way they're remediating it to try and help get ahead of it. It's really not moving. It's a plume, and it goes under Christopher's Nursery. It's heading towards Rainbow Lake, but it's not making any further progress towards that. But they are, this is, like you said, a long-term solution, and so they're working on it right now. They put, you know, there were a lot of people that had well water that they were even using for drinking, and they have filter systems there in their homes so they can, if they want to continue to use that water, they have that. So, but they are right on top of it. And there's a citizen advisory board
Right.
that helps to oversee, and we get updates a couple of times a year.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Good to know about.
Yes.
Thank you.
Anything else for Manny? Thank you for being here.
Oh, you're welcome.
Let us know if there's anything we can do to help you make your job easier too.
Well, I'd love
Have
for
to be
you
a
to
team.
think about what organizations, what regulated entities are in your community that you could nominate for a VESP award. Because again, it helps them, it's a 3-year, if they're compliant and they continue to be compliant and they have a record of that, they can renew that certificate every 3 years. I think it's a significant accomplishment for an organization. Thank you.
Thank you, Manny. Okay, we'll move on then to item D4, which is a presentation addressing Navajo County's opioid epidemic. I understand Janelle is not with us tonight. Are you going to take the lead on this, Keith?
Yes,
Other
Madam Mayor,
representatives?
Vice Mayor Buse, and council members. I have Amy Stradlings from the Navajo County Public Health Department. I believe.
Jason Moore.
Yes, and Jason Moore is also involved in this process, representing the county. So we're glad to have him here too. Janelle had a health emergency late this afternoon and scrambled, and I got thrown a football, and thankfully Amy came along and helped catch the football, and so I appreciate her being here. Maybe as a beginning, just to kind of, this is a two-part thing tonight, 2 items on the agenda, this presentation.
and then the next items for you to consider. I believe that we're all aware of the devastating effects that the opioid crisis has created across our nation, probably our world. The addictions have been quite devastating to many throughout our community. As a result of those, the crisis, lawsuits were instituted by many states throughout the nation, and probably and others, tribal nations also. Negotiated settlements have begun throughout the nation, and many states signed on to an agreement, and which Arizona was one, and we brought that to the council last year as an MOU to participate in a two-party settlement process. Navajo County began receiving funds from this settlement, and then we brought each of the communities in Navajo County together to talk about how do we go forward, how are we going to use that. So some of these funds come to Pinetop-Lakeside directly, or well, through the county first, or to Sholo and to each of the communities. But you know, in the big scheme of things, it's a small amount for us and for each community. And so we talked about how to go forward. And so we recognize the benefit of pooling our resources together. And so Navajo County put together this PowerPoint presentation that Janelle was going to make tonight to help us to understand what's the best way forward, what's the best way that we can address this. And in the big scheme of things, we have a lot of problems with drug abuse in our community, in our county. Fentanyl is a huge one. That's making all the headlines right now. And so it's going to be kind of a holistic view all the way around. I know I had a conversation with Mike Wright, superintendent of Blue Ridge High School, earlier this week, and he is really gung-ho all of a sudden and wants to deal with fentanyl. And so that's part of what will be the process that the county will undertake. So I'm going to let Amy now kind of go through some of the points on this. But one thing that to help you understand is that as they began those negotiated settlements, Johns Hopkins University was doing some studies about the best way for communities to address opioid addictions. And so they put together all sorts of studies, and that's what Navajo County is incorporating into the ideas that they have. And we have a lot of partners in Navajo County. Nexus Coalition is one of those, and many others. And so all of them are going to be pooled together so we can work towards hopefully eradicating or dealing with these problems. So I'll turn the time over to Amy.
Right. Good evening. Thank you for your time, council members and mayor. So as he mentioned, we all know that the opioid epidemic is unreal and not one entity can fix that alone. And so this is just a public health approach, and it really focuses on public health approaches, which includes access to care. We know that these individuals need access to treatment. They need access to resources and education. Data, these approaches really need to be data-driven and data-based approaches, and they may look different in different areas of the county, what that data looks like and what their main problems and contributing factors are. We have a overdose fatality review team at Public Health, and so we know that we're seeing a lot of overdoses, and we only have up to our 2020 data. However, we know that that's just continuing to rise, and COVID and some different factors have continued to increase some of those problems that we're seeing public health-wise. So it's just really focusing a lot on the multi-pronged approach. And you can go to the next one. And so this is just some of the guidance. And like I said, COVID just continued to increase some of those problems that we were seeing with overdose substance use disorder, suicide, mental health issues. We know that they all kind of coincide. And often when individuals are using substances, it's because they have a mental health problem or chronic pain from a chronic condition. We know that chronic conditions increased even more through COVID, and individuals that had their chronic conditions managed, that's no longer the case. And then we have individuals that have never had chronic health conditions before that are now experiencing that and trying to manage those symptoms. So next slide, please. So it just really goes to show that if we spend the money, then we can help save lives. And we really focus on evidence-informed and evidence-based approaches at public health, and investing in youth prevention. And we know that we need several community partners. So yes, Vicky's program does a great job with Nexus on a lot of the prevention pieces. And then we focus on some of the other approaches that I'll talk more about further along. And we really focus on equality and making sure that everybody has access to these same services regardless of their circumstance or the area that they live in. And then the most important part is we want to keep this a very transparent process. We want to make sure that everybody has a say in how this money's spent and what type of strategies we're working towards. And we want to be very transparent with the budget and all the pieces of this funding, so that everybody has kind of an equal say in the table on how it's spent. And John Hopkins did set up some guiding principles, so I'll let you guys kind of refer to those. If you want to go again, it's not showing that. So what it really talks about is kind of the same thing, that we really need to spend that money to address. Then we need to establish effective programs, so that's using your evidence-based approaches. And then I think evaluation is a big piece of that we don't want to forget. We want to know, are we making a difference with this money? Are we impacting the lives of our individuals in our county? So next slide. Okay, and next. So what this agreement says is that Navajo County Public Health will take the lead. However, we're not doing it alone. We have law enforcement involved, we have criminal justice involved, we have the cities and towns, and we really want everybody to feel like they have an equal say at the table. We're just kind of that lead organization, keeping everything to make sure all those boxes are checked. Next slide. All right. And I think we can skip this one. I don't want to repeat, and I felt like some of these slides. The Arizona Public Health Improvement Plan and the Community Health Assessment. So we are actually in the process of our current Community Health Assessment. In 2018, we had Allison Hefner with Public Health, and she came up with a brilliant approach to approach several entities, Summit Healthcare, Little Colorado Medical Center, MPC, about a united community health assessment. That was very beneficial because each organization was not doing a separate. So that's an approach that we're still using, and we're in the process of doing the 2023 Community Health Assessment Survey. So if you have not done that, I encourage you to share that with everyone that you know, because we really need to look at what does our current picture look like, and we have that broken down per zip code, so we can really focus on, because like I said, I know in North County it might look a little different than in South County and different things. We're really encouraging reservations to participate in that so that we have some tribal data as well. So next slide. All right, so we know that addiction is just like any other disease. And often one thing that we hear in public health is that they're mistreated, or they're different things when they're trying to get help and resources. So we're really working hard at public health to make sure that we do some education on appropriate non-stigmatizing language and care and treatment. We know that they really need support. And so one thing that we've implemented at public health is we have 3 individuals that have lived experience, and they're acting as peer support specialists. so they can help individuals navigate the care to treatment and things like that. Family support is a big one, and a lot of the time, by the time we get to these situations prior to overdose, the families kind of had it with some of the individuals, and they've tried everything that they can, but we really want these families involved and different things like that. So it's just, and then understanding that relapse may happen, and that's why we need law enforcement involved to understand that we can't arrest our way out of this, that we need to come up with new public health-based approaches, and that may look like harm reduction or new things to our community. But we have to realize that we have to help these individuals all the way from the prevention side to really make an impact and reduce overdoses. Okay, next. So these are just some of the key players: Navajo County Public Health, cities and towns, local behavioral health, and of course our REBA and Care First. Next slide. So this is some of the data collected from our local overdose fatality review team from 2020. We know that 84% of individuals that died of an overdose were suffering with chronic conditions. So often, once again, maybe using those opiates and different substance use. A lot of times it's multi-substance use. It's not just fentanyl or not just alcohol. It's a whole array kind of assortment. 44% reported that so we do family interviews on individuals that have passed away with their next of kin. We look at medical records. So that's where this data is coming from. 76% reported having ACEs, so that's adverse childhood experiences. So something traumatic happened to them probably growing up. It can be as simple as their parents got a divorce. It can be someone in their family was incarcerated. There's all different kinds of ACEs that they could have experienced, sexual trauma. And so those may be some of the reasons why they were choosing to use substances. And then behavioral and mental health is a big component, and we know that we have limited resources. And so how can we improve those systems where we are referring to each other? At least 64% had received some type of mental health diagnosis. Okay, 60% have reported being incarcerated. So once again, we're getting these same individuals in and out of our jail systems, which are costing all of us a lot of money. And so we need to look at other approaches that are going to help keep them out of our jail systems. And then 44% had a history of alcohol use disorder. Slide. So once again, this just kind of talks about collecting the data is kind of the pre-work, and then developing the strategies as a united approach, and then really looking at the evaluation and making a difference. Are these numbers we're reviewing in the fatality going down? Have we increased the number of referrals we've sent through our peer support specialists, those type of things. Next slide. And you can go to the next one. And we're going to talk a little bit. At Navajo County Public Health, I'm a division manager for the Outreach and Education Division. So we focus a lot on prevention and education. We have a mental health program and a teen health program that go into the schools and provide youth information on healthy life choices, better communication, healthy relationships. If they are struggling with a mental health concern, how can they address that? How can they act as a peer support for their peers and encourage them to find that trusted adult to talk to? We have our fatality reviews, so we review overdose deaths along with suicide deaths and also child fatality deaths. So we have some of that data to drive our strategies and focus our recommendations around that work. And our opioid program has really made a lot of headway this past year. They have recently partnered with Navajo County Jail, and they are doing a screening form when someone is going into incarceration. And then they're handing them care kits of resources and the peer supports, phone numbers and things. That's when individuals are most likely to experience an overdose, is recently after coming out of being incarcerated. Their tolerance levels and things go down. They go right back into those same social groups they were hanging with before. So that's when they're most at risk, and so we really want to get them connected with services. We focus with community bridges. We have a peer support helpline. We provide Narcan through our community, and we are the hub for Navajo County for that. So we try hard to work with EMS on Leave Behind programs and things like that. And then we've recently partnered with Summit Healthcare, and we're coming up with policies and protocols. So when their peer support specialists turn someone out of the emergency department, which is another department that gets hit pretty hard when someone's struggling with a mental health concern or a substance concern. And so really partnering with them to improve their protocols and processes on how we can get that individual treatment outside of the emergency department. So you can go ahead and we'll skip some of the rest. So really we're just asking you guys for your support and your input to make this a success, and feel that we are doing value to your team, and looking for you guys as a partnership in the steering committee and to decide informed decisions moving forward.
Thank you, Amy.
Thank you.
Appreciate all that information. Does anybody have any questions or comments for Amy? Jason, did you have anything to add, or are you going to add in the settlement next item? I was probably going to add in the settlement. Okay, thank you. Thank you. We look forward to moving this forward, continuing to move it forward. I think anybody who doesn't think this impacts you as much closer than you realize has your head in the sand. It's across the board. So thank you. We appreciate that, Amy. We'll go ahead and move on then to item D5, which is consider resolution number 23-1661, approving and authorizing the mayor to execute opioid settlement fund agreements with Teva, Allergan, CVS, Walgreens, and Walmart, and an intergovernmental agreement with Navajo County for the use of opioid settlement proceeds pursuant to One Arizona plan. I'm going to let Keith introduce this first and then let Jason. Okay.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Council. Tonight we have Jason Moore. He's our Deputy County Attorney with us tonight. He has helped to put together the IGA that we have before you today. Ironically, or it's a good thing, two things came together at the same time. The IGA from the county, and then a new round of settlements came through from Arizona, the state of Arizona. So we were able to put this on the agenda all in one fell swoop. And Jason has been probably at the forefront of this on the county's behalf, and so he can kind of describe to you where we're at tonight and what we're bringing to you. Go ahead.
Certainly. Thank you very much. I appreciate the introduction. My name is Jason Moore. I am the Deputy County Attorney for the Navajo County Attorney's Office. I do exclusively civil work for the county, and part of what I do is a few years ago, we decided as a county to seek outside representation to represent the county in opioid lawsuits that had started to been filed nationally to seek remedies for damages that the counties and smaller municipalities have incurred because of the opioid crisis that we all face today. And we had one round of settlements earlier that I would just refer to generally as the distributor settlements, and as has been indicated, the county has started to receive monies from that settlement, and at this point we're looking at how to spend that, and that's what the prior presentation was about. What I'm here to talk to you about tonight is the settlement with Allergan, Teva, CVS, Walmart, and Walgreens. This is the second major settlement in what will be a series of settlements that will be presented to you from time to time. The biggest players haven't settled yet, but that ultimately will be coming. Tonight, what is on the table is we're asking your approval and the approval of all municipalities throughout Navajo County to approve a settlement with the 5 entities I identified earlier. In total, what this settlement means for Navajo County is that we would receive approximately, as a county, in total, $3,234,417.84. And the way these settlements are structured between the 5 settling entities, they're all set up on settlements where they will pay out over 6 to 15 years. Some of the settlements include provisions that they will provide Narcan for free, which is something that can reverse opioid overdoses. And so we would get some of that for free. But that's the dollar amount that you're looking at. And I did provide Mr. Johnson, and I'm sure you have in your packets, how that's divided between the cities and the counties if it were broken down and we were to handle it individually on our own. About 70% of the settlement money goes to, basically this is based just on where the population in the county is. 70% of it would go to Navajo County, and then smaller percentages to each of the municipalities. The town of Pinetop-Lakeside, tonight, you guys would get 4.75% of that amount, or $153,634.85 over the next 15 years. And individually, as municipalities, that may not mean very much to you. You guys at the municipal level don't have health departments to administer this, and as part of the settlement requirements, it has to be overseen, all of the spending has to be overseen by county health departments throughout the country. That was in the One Arizona plan, and it's structured into these settlement proposals. And that basically is to ensure that the money is utilized in appropriate ways, as outlined in the One Arizona plan that you guys approved over a year ago, a couple of years ago actually now, and the terms and conditions of each of the settlement agreements. So what this basically does is it allows the county and the municipalities to work together collectively to solve what is a problem that plagues all of our communities collectively, and do so in a comprehensive way that, you know, it would be very difficult for smaller, you know, cities and towns to administer such small amounts of funds and to use them on their own. But collectively, we can have a much bigger impact. And that's what this settlement is all about. And so tonight, I'm asking you to approve the proposed settlement. We are going to each of the cities and towns and asking them the same thing throughout Navajo County. And every city and town throughout the state is going to have the same thing on their agenda. And the thing is, the more, in order to maximize our settlement, to get that full amount I was discussing, we have to get sign-ons from every county, every city and town throughout the state of Arizona. That's key to making this One Arizona plan work, which underpins all of this. So if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Jason, any questions for Jason? Councilor Krigbaum?
I assume it's based on population of the town?
Yes, that's correct.
That's why Show Low gets the most?
That is correct, yeah. It's not because they're any more special than you, it's just they have more population, yeah.
Actually, one thing I did notice is that there were communities that are larger than us that got a smaller percentage. Snowflake, Taylor, they're about our size or larger, and they got a smaller percentage.
Smaller amount,
so some of it,
right.
I think, was
Saw
based
that too.
also on, I'm not really sure what, but we've had more.
There are certain measurements that were made in terms of impact that opioids have had on communities. And in addition to population, that's what influenced it a little bit too. But mostly, it's population for the most part.
Any other questions or comments? And obviously, collectively, we're much better off than individually in this.
Yes.
Council members, any other questions? I'd entertain a motion then. Vice Mayor?
I move to adopt resolution number 23-1661, approving and authorizing the mayor to execute opioid settlement fund agreements with Teva, Allergan, CVS, Walgreens, and Walmart, and an intergovernmental agreement with Navajo County for the use of opioid settlement proceeds pursuant to One Arizona Plan.
Second that.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Is there further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. Thank you. That passes unanimously. Jason, are we going to get periodic updates on the progress? Maybe Amy should answer that question.
Yeah, basically what's happening once we have this standing committee set up, you should be able to get regular information through the town of Pinetop-Lakeside is one of the, and the city of Show are both appointing representatives to represent all of the municipalities. So you're going to get direct information through that channel, but also I know that our health department will keep the cities informed too about what's going on. So, okay.
Okay, great. Thank you for all your work on this.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. Moving in then on to item D6, which is a public hearing, discussion, and consider resolution number 23-1660 and ordinance number 23-460, proposing changes to the Pinetop-Lakeside Town Code, Chapter 12.16, the Town Cemetery. Christy.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Current Town Code, Chapter 12.16, titled Town Cemetery, was last revised in 2016. After recent review with Public Works Director Matt Patterson, Engineering Technician Catherine Nunn, and myself, we found basically some housekeeping items that needed to be updated. When somebody purchases a plot, they're not purchasing a piece of real property. The town owns the cemetery and runs the cemetery. So we added in definitions plot owner, and I'm going to read that. It means the purchaser of the right of burial in a particular cemetery plot. The purchase is not a purchase of property, and thus the plot owner does not acquire real or personal property by purchasing a plot in a cemetery owned by the town of Pinetop-Lakeside. Instead, the purchaser obtains a license for the right of burial in a cemetery plot and shall be referred to as a licensee. So you'll see throughout the town code, we crossed out a lot of spots where they say plot owners and changed it to for the owners of the licenses for the use of a plot. And I do want to mention, because Vice Mayor Buse called and found a typo on the first paragraph, 12.16.010 under purpose, under where it's read, a license for the use of was missing. So I did correct that, not in your packet, but before it goes to code publishing, after the 30-day ordinance, if it is approved tonight, that'll be corrected. We were also having an issue in section A and B of the cemetery. That's the old section. They're not allowed to do upper and lower burials, which we consider a companion plot in section C. So in section A and B, a companion plot is side by side. And the max for a single plot width that a headstone can be is 40 inches. But if they called the place they were purchasing a cemetery headstone from and said it was a companion plot, people who were making the headstones were making them up to 80 inches wide, which would encroach on to the neighboring plots. So we changed that to the description of a family plot. So in section A and B, say somebody has side by side, they can have up to an 80-inch width for a headstone. In section C, if it's a companion plot, it's more than likely an upper lower, and they have to stay at the 40-inch so they don't encroach. So we did add that into the definitions on the widths of the headstones. And we also added one more cleaning day at the cemetery. I believe Matt figured those around holidays. And those cleaning dates the dates that they're listed will last up to 2 weeks. That gives, I believe it's Magic that has the contract, up to 2 weeks to get that entire cemetery cleaned up. And I'll answer any questions.
Any other questions? Thank you, Christy. And this puts it back under the town rather than Public Works.
Yeah, because I do all the cemetery plot sales and stuff, so, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Any questions, comments, motion? Councilor Heisler.
I move to adopt.
Excuse me 1 second. This is a public hearing. I apologize. Is there any member of the public that would like to address this issue? Okay, seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Councilor Heisler.
I move to adopt resolution number 23-1660 and ordinance number 23-460, amending Town Code Chapter 12.16, Town Cemetery as proposed.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Is there further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. Thank you. That carries unanimously. Before we adjourn, once again, I would just like to thank our public works crews for the great job they have done in clearing our roads. This has been an incredible winter, and they have really pushed their limits to the max, I think. So we appreciate all their hard work. There being no further business, we'll go ahead and adjourn tonight. Thank you.